Hey coffee lovers, Josh here from Alternative Brewing, welcome back. Today we're diving into a grinder that's been, well, a long time coming here to Australia. The Timemore Sculptor 078S. So this is the Espresso edition. Now, this grinder hit the scene well over a year ago with massive hype during its crowdfunding launch. But here's the twist. For many of us, it didn't arrive for months. And then by the time it did, those newer players like the Varia VS6 or the DF64V feel like they've already stolen a little bit of this grinder's thunder. So I'll be honest, I didn't exactly unbox this with sky-high expectations. The excitement feels like it's simmered down around this grinder, though I do feel now ready to approach it with a clear perspective. And here's the question I want to explore today. With the hype now somewhat of a distant memory, does the Sculptor 078S still hold up as a great grinder for home baristas, or is it just another grinder in a now crowded market? Let's take a closer look at what the 078S brings to the table. From the sculpted aluminium body to the subtle curves that scream modern coffee station centerpiece, Timemore clearly put a lot of thought into making this grinder not just functional, but also a joy to look at. From the simple yet beautifully functioning operation button on the side, to the magnetics used on the hopper lid and the catch cup, these are that perfect touch for this grinder's workflow. And the capacity to the 078S is around 30 grams. What makes the 078S unique at its core is it uses proprietary 78mm flat burrs, specifically designed for espresso. While the standard 078 caters for the filter coffee crowd, and these burrs are interchangeable, which is a nice touch, but here's the catch. These burrs are Timemore's own design, and at this stage there are no further burr options available other than these two. So that's something to keep in mind if you're someone who loves to experiment with upgrades. On the upside, the performance of the 078S does deliver consistent grinds both for espresso, which it shines at, and filter brewing, thanks to its advanced burr geometry, which, in Timemore's own words, are the vortex knife of burrs. You'll notice there are 3 rows of teeth, and here you'll experience faster grinding times without sacrificing on flavor. Then couple this with the 400-watt adjustable RPM motor, and then you're in the ballpark for tailoring the extraction to your preferred espresso recipe. However, I do find accessing the RPM dial is a little bit tricky if you have it forward facing on the bench. It's tucked away here at the back, and it's not as intuitive as you'd hope. You can adjust the dial from 800 to 1400 RPM, and then once dialed in, it handles different brew styles with ease. The grind adjustment is a large stepless grind wheel front and center on the grinder. This is easy to adjust on small increments, or you can go from fine-tuning your espresso grinds all the way to much coarser settings for filter brewing. Now, a misunderstood feature of this grinder is the grinds knocker. Found at the chute exit, you twist it after grinding out. And initially I thought this was a retention solution, with there no bellows being up top. And correct me if I'm wrong here, and I could have sworn I've read this multiple times, its actual on-paper purpose is to act as a fines catch-up. So it's meant to limit the amount of fines that you have in your final dose. And then you knock these fines out after using your dose back into the dosing cup. And then the theory behind this is that with less fines, you get more clarity and cleanliness in the cup. And whilst I think that is a clever addition, I am absolutely positive it doesn't get used in this way, and most of us will just be using it to eliminate the retention within the grinder. And this is a great addition, but I'm just not sure it got correctly communicated as how best to use it. And it works both either way, whether you're removing retention or you're keeping the fines in the grinder itself. I just also feel that there are separate ways to use it, and that will certainly change how you perceive the flavor profile of this grinder. A further standout aspect of the Timemore Sculptor 078S is its flavor profile. After some seasoning, which is a known part of the journey with this grinder, it does reveal its true potential. And whether you're seeking bright, juicy notes or a creamy, full-bodied texture, the Sculptor can deliver on both of these with some finesse. It's this balanced approach that makes it ideal for espresso and versatile enough to dabble in filter brewing, though its sweet spot does truly lie in the realm of espresso-based drinks. With the RPM adjustment, you can also gain that ability to explore more of these contrasting profiles, adding that extra layer of versatility to your brewing journey. And whilst it might not fully cater to the most niche flavour profiles or filter enthusiasts, it's a grinder that works beautifully for those of you who value balance and reliability in your coffee routine. Let's now just grind out a 20-gram dose of espresso beans on an espresso setting, and we'll see how loud it is and how long it takes. All right, so I've got 20 grams of espresso beans. I'm going to set it on an espresso setting. RPM. RPM of 1100. Let's go. Hot start. That's pretty quick. Tentatively stopping the timer. Now we'll check out the grinding performance across the range of the grind dial using the 078S. Finally, let's touch on its marketing position. Since the Sculptor's launch, newer competitors like the Varia VS6 and the DF64V have entered the scene, offering innovative features and sometimes more flexibility. But the 078S holds its ground with its simplicity and reliability. So as I've mentioned, if you value a grinder that looks great and performs consistently without too much tinkering, this could be the grinder for you. Now let's address a few areas where the Timemore Sculptor 078S stumbles. First up, it's the proprietary burrs. Whilst the 078 and the 078S burrs are interchangeable between each grinder, the grinders themselves are also different and optimized for those specific brewing methods. So it's great in theory, but then the grinder really does lack burr options and limits flexibility for those of you who do like to customize your gear. Then there's also the RPM adjustment dial, which, while functional, is tucked away in a less than convenient spot. And adjusting it does feel like an unnecessary chore compared to some of its competitors. A further downside to the Sculptor grinder is it's not really set up for ease of cleaning and maintenance. What I discovered is there are at least 3 parts to disassemble, as well as removing 6 screws just to get into the burr chamber, and then a further 2 screws each burr set to remove and completely disassemble. And then it is a little bit tricky to place all back together again to ensure correct alignment, as well as calibration on the grind settings. And then lastly, this bean hopper. This design does have a tendency to get very messy up top with that direct open path into the burr chamber, and then cleaning out the hopper and pushing the debris back down into the chamber is something you must do every time to ensure you're getting that full dose. When you compare the Timemore Sculptor 078S to the Varia VS6 and the DF64V, it's clear the competition is heating up right here. The 078S, I think, undeniably wins in the design category. The build category, though, it's pretty even there. The Timemore 078S, though, is a showpiece that combines elegance with functionality. But the newer competitors, like the Varia VS6, offers more accessible burr options. And the DF64V addresses workflow quirks with fewer retention issues. And with that said, if you prioritize aesthetics with a stable grind workflow and then don't mind some quirks, the Timemore Sculptor holds its own. It's not trying to wow you with groundbreaking features, but instead focuses on a reliable performance with an elevated design that I think fits effortlessly into any home barista setup. So to wrap things up, the Timemore Sculptor 078S has had quite a journey. Delayed releases, overshadowed hype, rising competition, but despite all of that, it stands tall as a strong contender. This grinder isn't for the tinkerer who wants to swap burrs out every weekend, or even fine-tune the RPMs with ease. Instead, it's for the coffee enthusiast who values simplicity, reliability, and an elegant design that complements your space and workflow. Yes, there are quirks, but these are far from deal breakers. For most users within this price range, they're fairly easy to manage. So ultimately, the Sculptor 078S is a grinder you will enjoy owning and using. And it delivers dependable performance day in, day out. And for those of you who appreciate its aesthetic appeal, I think it becomes more than just a piece of equipment. It becomes part of your coffee making ritual. So thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. If you've tried the Timemore Sculptor 078S or have any thoughts about its performance, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear how it fits into your coffee making ritual, or if you are considering this as your next grinder. And certainly stay tuned as we've got more exciting comparisons coming up, including a full-length 078S versus the Varia VS6 and DF64V. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos like this. And as always, see you in the next video.